So when you see this, they're going to show you a number of paintings and tell you a little bit about some of the artists and the paintings for the Hudson River School. So let's look at this. This is right in New York City. That's the one we saw in the last video. That large rock. Right here, you see the landscape in the window. It's almost like a photograph. It's so telling in how they've made it. So as we're looking at this, as it's ending, you are seeing almost like a photograph, really. That's what it's like, almost a photograph. Because they're doing it so literally. And she's talking about how this is all working out for the artist. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about what she was saying, okay? She was saying that not only do these artists paint what they see, but they're so involved in the nature of it, okay? So involved with the nature that they're also showing you what is above the tree, what is the level of the tree, the bark, the branches, the moss that grows on it. But also they're enthralled. They're so excited to show you the riverbank where the roots of the tree are growing. And maybe there's worms or there's little stones. They want you to see how all of this has formed. So this is really showing us a real love of nature, for naturalism. And as they were talking, they said, these artists said, don't just go inside and look at pictures of nature. Go outside, explore it, feel it, then paint it. Some of them, of course, were finished inside of a studio. It takes a while to do this, but they're not using a camera. Nowadays, a camera can capture a picture with details. They have to sketch it. They have to remember it. They have to look at it. So they are really encouraging people to go back and really take a good look. And one of the things that you might want to realize is, because lighting is so important, that if they were to go back and they wanted to catch some of the same feelings, they would have to return another day, approximately the same time, to catch the light, to have the same mood. Of course, it'd be slightly different, but it could help. And many times when you see people who are making movies, they'll say, oh, we're losing the light. And then the next time they go to shoot, they're going, say, they on a late afternoon, say at 4 o'clock, they set up and they're all ready to shoot again because they want to get the same feeling. These artists, as the docent, the person who was telling us about the paintings, were not just giving us pictures that anyone could paint. These were almost like a photograph. The details in the Hudson River School art, which, as you heard them say, was really the formation of one of the first formal schools of art in the United States. Those formations. You could almost look at the painting and say, oh, I know where in the forest this is. Look at how there's ridges on this rock, or look at how this dead tree is lying here. So that were very, very unique to their work. Now, we also heard about Thomas Moran, and he was an American painter in the Hudson River School, and he would paint the Rocky Mountains. Now, do you know where the Rocky Mountains are? The Rocky Mountains are out west. They go into Colorado, California, and those states. So this is a change. Cole, who was painting in New York and in the Adirondack Mountains and the Catskill Mountains, to an area that is out west. And again, the docent, the name of the person who was talking at the museum, the docent was saying that when put these paintings out on loan to travel across the country, people could relate to them because everywhere there is nature and beauty. And now we're including an artist from another part of the country. So we're getting a view of different mountains, different scenes, different waterfalls, different formations. When it talks about you need to understand geology, that means the study of the earth, formations of rocks, how things shift to make mountains. Also needed to understand nature and how things grew so that you could depict realistically how the tree root would work into the soil. Everything about this has to do with nature and beauty. But again, it is not that different from the two things that we studied last week. So let's look back. When we were talking about the Pacific Northwest and Eskimos and Native Americans in that area and the artwork that they were making, they too were reflecting their nature. First of all, when you look at it, back when we talked about totem poles, what was the material they were using? They were searching for cedar trees, which were indigenous, which grew in the area that they lived. So that was a way of depicting nature for them, all right? They were also carving forms and shapes that meant something from nature. Birds, faces that would be welcoming for their area. They were doing this by hand, just like a painter. They were showing feelings about their nature and their religion in their art, very similar to what's going on in here. Remember, pastoral art, painting pastures where there are sheep, very calm. Cole is saying in his paintings, this is great, this is what we want. When he does his series of 5 paintings, he shows how the beauty of nature becomes destroyed when man enters it. And finally, when man is destroyed, the beauty of nature takes over again. So I think that that's very important to look at. And also the same thing with Native American art, where they embraced what they had in nature. So how did they do that? If they lived in areas with grasses, they used natural grasses to make bowls, to carry things in, to incorporate in their clothing, to trade with other tribes that didn't have these grasses to get different things. They used stone that was available in the areas that they lived. They used feathers from the birds that were there. So again, we are looking at nature, and nature is inspiring the art for all of these people, but in different ways. Now, I want you to look and see this next video that I have on Thomas Moran, who is also a well-known Hudson River artist. And take a look at how his paintings compare to the 2 prior videos that you have seen, and look at how he embraces art and nature. Now, this is our third lecture. I want to go over a few words. When we were talking about the artwork, excuse me, she talked about an installation. That vocabulary word, installation, means to install, to put up art. Okay, we talk about naturalism, which is a respect for nature and a celebration of that. You heard my word docent. Docent is the person who is employed in a gallery or at a museum who is very knowledgeable about the work of the artist and will explain it to you. We also have different words such as landscape, which you know is the painting of scenery outside, all right? And romanticism. That vocabulary word means romantic, like in love, beauty, celebrating the beauty and the simplicity and the love that is coming out of or the feeling that you're getting from the natural art. So I want you to take a look at this last video and take a look at Moran's paintings.